We are now at step 4, mapping session and action planning. This is the session in which your whole team will come together to examine the map components in building a strong, supportive career pathway for students. To guide you through this session, we offer an example agenda. The link to this example is at the top of this slide. This is just a suggestion, and we encourage you to amend the agenda to fit your team and your objectives. The agenda allows for time to make introductions, review prompting questions, engage in discussion, dig into action planning, and wrap up the session. Along with the mapping work, you are creating a community of practice, so we suggest some flexibility in the agenda as you move through the session to allow participants to get to know each other. If you want to review a bit about mapping, check out what is pathway mapping and why do we do it at any time throughout the mapping process. Pathway maps are a graphic tool to facilitate the process of designing and redesigning programs of study. This visual tool allows for review of stackable certificates to provide students with advancement opportunities in both college and career. The maps present steps a student can take in pursuing a certificate or degree to qualify them for high-wage, high-skill, in-demand occupations. Creating robust career pathways takes a team of practitioners developing a community of practice. The mapping process is an opportunity to create a community of practice around a cross-institutional program of study with students at the center. We found that it could be helpful to spend some time norming the team on some of the structures of the institutions. Considerations for high school and community college partnerships in the mapping process is a brief document with some helpful key items to share with the team as you begin the mapping activity. This is an example of the community college map. A link to this template can be found at the top of the slide. This map includes entry, mid, and advanced level careers with the corresponding certificates and degrees needed for employment. Included in the map are work-based learning opportunities, integrated student services, and labor market information. Also included are bridge programs that can support students in the transition from high school to college. The high school maps include some of the same components. The high school map includes some core academic classes that students are expected to take in their 4 years. The map also includes elective courses, career technical education, project-based learning curriculum, and competencies. Depending on your objectives for mapping, the maps can look different and incorporate different components. Since there is a lot of information in the maps, and the process can sometimes feel overwhelming, this slide can be useful to outline the instructions for the active mapping session. Getting started can be difficult sometimes, so here is a resource with a series of prompting questions to help generate ideas. You will want to identify items that are in progress and aspirational, as well as areas you would like to include further collaboration and questions for the partners. Post-its. You will always want to have an arsenal of Post-its during your mapping sessions. It helps to write items on Post-its so they can move around the map if needed, and it allows for participants to add to the map without all crowding to write things directly onto the poster. In our experience, here are a few practices we found to be helpful. Try to use black felt tip pens so that they don't bleed or smear through the map. Do not stack Post-its on top of each other because sometimes they fall off. Be mindful of spelling out acronyms and encourage mappers to add notations, but make sure they include them in the legend. For example, if circles, stars, or triangles are being used, ask that they include a legend with a definition or explanation. As mentioned in slide 9, prompting questions are a useful resource to have at hand to help generate ideas and conversation. Here's an image of our map with Post-its added to the components. As you can see in this map, large X's have been marked over certain certificates in the college map. In this situation, the college faculty realized that certain certificates were no longer offered yet still in the college catalog. This was an opportunity for the college to update the partners on the necessary changes to their certificate offerings and programs. You'll see a number of creative ways for participants to interact with the maps, like these color-coded Post-its. When looking at all the Post-its and notes, it can be hard to imagine a completed version. So just to keep you inspired, here is a pathway map after the information has been added from the mapping session. So far, we've discussed the active mapping activity, which is the first part of step 4. Just as important is setting time at the end for action planning. Begin development of action plans with some of the following: discussing how the information shared can be used and how programs and courses can be further developed. Determine what information is still needed to complete the draft map. And lastly, complete the action plan document, including who will be responsible for each action item. Teams might already have methods of outlining their next steps. If not, we provide this action planning template to help participants plan out their work moving forward. Sharing. It is suggested that at the end of the sessions, you spend some time sharing your learnings and action plans to continue streams of communication and shared vision. It can be useful to put together a resource packet for the mapping session. Many of the resources shared throughout this toolkit can be found using this link. This is an example resource that addresses key interventions for effective K-16 pathways with information about course sequencing, student supports, and more. Here we have the work-based learning continuum. You might have come across a version or two of this continuum. All of them are helpful in understanding the different types of work-based learning opportunities that students can participate in that can be integrated into your maps. Also helpful is this resource that supports the understanding of systems alignment through pathway development. Lastly, this resource digs deeper into the 6 elements for success in career pathways. You've just completed step 4 of the Career Pathway Mapping Toolkit. Congratulations! It is now an important time to follow up with step 5 as soon as possible so you don't lose momentum in creating the version of your map